Thank you everyone so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Welcome to our live event here. I want to share with everybody my screen. I am Matt Jared. I have Nicole France and Daniel Groppensberger joining us here, and we are looking at today to be chatting about Ruggable's optimization strategies for performant headless storefront. And we're going to talk about future-proofing e-commerce with Next.js, Contentful, and Vercel. We have a packed agenda, so we're going to get right through a lot of stuff today. But what I want to go to, like, really quickly is have Daniel introduce himself and have Nicole introduce herself, and then I'll talk a little bit about myself, and then we'll dig right into it. So Daniel, take us away. Kind of give us an introduction, where you're located, and how long you've been at Ruggable.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Daniel. I lead the marketing tech team here at Ruggable. I'm based in LA, and I've been with Ruggable for over 3 years now. It's been a wild ride, but a fun one.
And hey, I'm
Amazing.
Nicole France. I'm Chief Evangelist at Contentful, which really means that I have the privilege and the pleasure of having worked in our product marketing team, having led our content team, and now getting to put those pieces together and talk about how we're identifying and solving problems of really how we use digital content to connect with our customers. So I'm really excited to be here too, not least because I'm a fan of Vercel, but also because I am a Ruggable customer and fan also. So Daniel, just know the love is real.
Yeah, it's easy to be a Ruggable fan. It's washable, right? Like, you don't have to, you can just put it in the wash and it's done, right? Okay, we're going to talk all about Ruggable in just a second. Let me get through my introduction. Matt Jared, I'm located in Austin. I have been with Vercel a little over a year now, and my job is a sales engineer. So as a sales engineer, it's my role to come help folks evaluate Vercel, answer technical questions, things of that nature. So today we're just going to kind of be talking about Daniel's version of how he evaluated Vercel and how the Ruggable team has adopted Vercel into Contentful. So let's go through our agenda really quick, and then we'll dig right in. What we're going to talk about is Ruggable's optimization story. So how did Ruggable get through all of this? Everyone loves Ruggable, the rug products, but it wasn't always that easy to get stuff on the web product out into the world and have that experience that we have today be really optimized. So what we're going to talk about is how Ruggable kind of moved into this headless architecture. And then we're going to talk about what Ruggable is looking at into the future, how Contentful and Vercel kind of help some of those things going forward. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Vercel, how we empower fast sites and fast teams. And then we're going to talk about how Contentful and Vercentful, that's my new company I'm going to come up with. Contentful and Vercel. Like that's a perfect one. Vercentful, yeah. So Vercel and Contentful, how this is a really dynamic duo where we can enable team creativity and speed. And then we'll open it up to you all who are here joining with us. And what we can do is we can, like, I want you all to feel free to ask any questions that you would like in the Q&A box as you come in. And we'll be able to kind of go through any of those questions that have come on since we've been chatting.
Yeah, okay. And I would say,
so,
just to encourage that, hit us up with the questions as we're going through as well. We all want this to be part of the dialogue. And there's no need to hold off until the end. Ask it as it pops into your head.
Great point. Yeah, please ask questions. This is more or less a conversation with slides, less a live event or a webinar, and more just kind of like a story that we're going to hear from Daniel, and kind of view how Contentful and Vercel have kind of helped this transition. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Daniel, I'd love to know, like, what the before looked like. So we have Ruggable on Shopify. Talk to me about what it looked like. Let's go back in time, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. What was the Ruggable tech stack like? And how was it like as a developer to work on that?
Yeah, Ruggable got our start really on Shopify. It was great for what it was. We were able to quickly spin up a website through Shopify. But as we wanted to build new features, custom features, really like make the experience feel personal, custom for the customer, we had to do a lot of our own custom code using Shopify's. We were on their Slate theme kit using their Liquid language. But we had to do all promotions, site updates, everything's done through code and through publishing Shopify themes. And we were really relying heavily on Shopify apps and integration for all third parties. We started to run into some issues. The Slate theme kit was deprecated, I think, in 2018. And so we were using this unsupported but somewhat open source version from Shopify, and it kind of left us in a tricky technical position.
Gotcha. In that tricky technical position, what was like one of the main, like, what did that feel like for the team? Like, what was the main headache that you guys had?
It would take a while to develop these features. I mean, yeah, if you want to go to the next
Mhm.
slide,
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
took us 2 weeks to build a landing page. We were doing all merchandising through code changes. It was the tech team. We didn't have a true like merchandise team that could support us on this. But ultimately, you know, the big number there, that's a 6 out of 100 for you know, Google Lighthouse scores. It was abysmal page speed. It just was not an optimized tech stack. We were exploring different ways to optimize. And really, we kind of hit our local max. There was only so much we could do with this Shopify tech stack. And if we wanted to improve SEO and also conversion for our website, like we had to make the site much faster. Google was penalizing us for our low page speeds, and we could see our rankings starting to fall as they released update after update, focusing on page speed, especially for mobile devices. And so ultimately, we needed to rebuild it, start fresh, and go headless.
Mhm. Yeah, I would love to know. Tell me about the tech team doing merchandising for the like through
Yeah,
the code changes. What was
that's
that
my
like? Yeah,
question too.
tell me about
How do
that.
you find devs that are great
Yeah,
merchandisers, Daniel?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, right? Like, I don't think these devs were merchandisers, but we were having to make these code changes. Like, these were new features, these were new promotions. Like, we did have a great UX team that was helping support this, but like, it took time to build these features. And I mean, thinking back to Black Friday and sales of old, like, we were up at midnight publishing themes, switching over the site. Like, we had to be on call essentially, making sure nothing broke. It was just very very shaky, and we didn't feel confident heading into Black Friday. It was very nerve-wracking.
It does not make
Okay.
for a great, fun Thanksgiving, does it?
No, it doesn't. I brought my laptop with me all weekend.
Oh man. Okay. In the 2 weeks of build time for a landing page, I'm also curious on that. So like we're not making like fast changes to content. We're not deploying changes out on into the world. Like how important were those landing pages? Was that like a huge thing that the business really cared about?
Yeah, absolutely. We were starting to begin our partnerships with different companies and designers at that point. So companies like Disney, designers like Jonathan Adler, like each new collection launch, we wanted to pair with this gorgeous landing page to really highlight and celebrate this collection. And this is also where like SEO comes into play. You know, you want these landing pages to build authority on these topics, to drive people to the website. And it just was not easy to do. We had to be very choosy with how we spent our development time.
Well, we're
Mhm.
not just talking about dev time here either, right? I mean, we're talking about
Totally.
the poor page load speed, but not even putting your content teams in a position where they could create stuff, the substance of what was going into these pages really quickly either, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So I'm seeing the picture here. This is brutal days. No one's happy. And we have to come up with a migration plan of some kind.
Mhm.
And what we decide is that we want to do all of these things. What was it like as you're evaluating how we're going to go do all this other stuff? So I see this really long amount, like there's Contentful, Vercel, these different marketing tools, and then we launch in a year. What's it like when you guys are going and evaluate some of these different tools? Like, what's the first step for when you say we have to change and go headless? What's that look like for you, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the first step was like a come to Jesus moment with the company, right? Like, we cannot improve beyond where we're at. We need to take a big bet, a big swing here. And thankfully, we had leadership that was supportive of that. They gave us the time and the resources to go ahead and build this new website. And so we spent time working with our content teams, our merchandisers to understand what they needed to be able to do. And then we spent time with our development team understanding, well, how do we do this? Like what's the best tools? What's the framework we want to go with? We landed on Vercel. We had chose Contentful as well, because we knew we'd be able to model the entire site within Contentful. We'd be able to use content models to fully structure the page and enable our content managers to move content around, essentially snap together pages. We were very excited to roll that out.
Daniel, had you guys done any content modeling before you made the move to Contentful? Was that something that had been part of how you'd worked in Shopify before?
We had done a little bit. It was mostly like let's store one text string here so that we can make a quick change later. But nothing on the, like nothing truly modeled, actually. It was just kind of like random content entries. And yeah, it was very messy. We started fresh.
That's cool. And was that
It's
something that gave you an opportunity to bring the dev and the content and merchandising teams together? How did you guys tackle that?
Yeah, it's funny. We actually started like the contentful modeling on the tech team. We knew how to structure the site. We knew what we were looking for. So we were able to spend time building out the site, mapping all of the text fields we needed into Contentful. We were able to then build it through Vercel using Next. And then from there, as we integrated all our third parties, tested, QA'd, ultimately launched, then we were able to talk to our merchandising and content teams and train them on Contentful. Here's where you're going to edit this. Here's where you launch a promotion. Here's how you run an A/B test with content, all within Contentful. So it was wonderful that no one was hesitant. They were thrilled, honestly, that they were able to do so much more without having to submit a dev ticket and see it 2 weeks, a month later. They were able to, on their own time, go in and make these changes and operate independently of the tech team.
So we're really
That's
talking about
incredible.
a set of parallel changes, right? You were changing the entire architecture of the website, but you were also kind of changing the underlying architecture of how your internal teams were working together too.
100%. Yeah. It was, yeah, I think looking back, we feel so fast now, but it's this presentation's been fun because they will look back and see like, yeah, man, things were slow. Like it took us a while to do things. We had product managers and developers that were solely focused on content changes, and that's it's not a good way to spend their time. They want to build new features. They want to create personalized experiences for our customers, not snap together a landing page.
Incredible. Nicole, when you have a customer like Ruggable come in, what does that look like on the Contentful side? Like, what do you recommend for somebody like who's just starting out on this path? Like, what does that look like for your team?
Well, no surprise, what Daniel's just talked us through is actually very close to what our recommended approach is, because in order to make use of a headless system like Contentful, you have to build a content model, because that's kind of the place that gives you the interface between what content and merchandising teams, anybody that's doing the editorial work of creating or managing and adjusting and iterating with content is going to be working within. And that's also kind of the transition piece between the substance of what's in the content and how you deploy that to all the places where you want the content that's in your system to go. And so the idea is you build it once, you use it everywhere. That only works if you actually start with modeling that content. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a completely comprehensive content model to begin with. You can start relatively modestly, as long as you've got the most important pieces modeled. That's really where you're then going to be able to start working with those modules. You can combine content in the content model with design modules as well, which is, again, probably a whole other webinar we could do as well. But that's what creates this kind of modularity, right? And because you're separating the content from the endpoint where it's getting displayed, you have a tremendous amount of flexibility, not just to reuse that content across different parts of web pages and multiple websites, but actually you can use that even in other channels as well. So you can do things like email promotion, where you're actually pulling the same kind of content, whether it's banners or the product promotions and descriptions. You can pull that into other digital channels as well. So starting with a content model is really key. And the way to tackle that content model is typically to start with where the biggest pain point is. And again, the beauty of this approach is that you don't necessarily have to do a complete changeover. You can actually do this in a phased and incremental way, whether you're talking about deploying different parts of the website or even different parts of the content as well.
Amazing. So yeah, so the phase, like we're moving in phases, or we're going to go in like a big kind of like, we're going to roll this boulder down the hill. How did that look on your guys' side, Daniel? How much of this was phased? How much of it was, hey, we're just going to like boil the ocean today? Sometimes you have to do one or the other. What did that look like on your side as you guys did this migration?
Yeah, for us, unfortunately, it was boiling the ocean. This was largely
Sometimes
because,
it happens.
It
yeah,
does, it does.
Yeah.
we were launching in Germany later that year, and so we needed to be able to have all of our content within Contentful so that we could translate it and store those translations right alongside the English translations. You know, if you're only in English, like, yeah, absolutely phased approach, but we needed all content translated, and we didn't want to have to
Mm.
support hard-coded translations within our themes or our code. So we built it all, we modeled it all out in Contentful. It took us longer, like that's just the truth of it. But because we did that, we were then able to fully hand over the website to our content team, and they could really make full changes on any page, yeah, any part of the website.
Amazing. Okay. So we go through this path of we're modeling content. We have to boil the ocean. We have to do it large in this large scale thing. Where does I know we've picked Vercel, we have Contentful and a bunch of other things. Where was the tech stack choice in this process? Was that like, how did that work when you chose Next? And what was that process like?
Yeah, that was really relying on our engineers. We worked with them to understand what they felt most confident in and what they felt was the best choice moving forward. In hindsight, yeah, it was a great decision. Glad we made that choice. But it was trusting them and working with them because they were the ones directly interfacing with this. They had to be using it. So we wanted to make sure they were happy and confident moving forward.
I kind of like
Okay.
this idea that everybody using the system is playing to their strengths and their priorities and preferences, whether that's the content teams or the merchandising teams being able to manage that stuff directly, but the engineering and dev teams being able to work in their preferred approaches and languages too.
Yeah. What made them excited to come to work, right? Like they wanted to use Vercel and Next. They wanted to try these modern frameworks. I mean, they had been stuck in something that was deprecated in 2018. So no engineer was happy to join the team and have to learn Liquid. So it was refreshing to move forward.
Okay. So yeah, I guess that's a good transition into like, okay, we decided to do this all like over time. Our previous was super heavy Shopify. Now we're coming over into like what this looks like afterwards. And you touched on the 6 languages and the 8 locales. For Germany, like what importance does that have to be able to localize stuff like for the business? Like, does anybody like, do people like track that or care about that on the Ruggable side?
Absolutely. It was non-negotiable. We had to launch Germany in German. I've been to
Mhm.
Germany. They speak English maybe better than we do, but for them to feel like this is a local website that they can trust and that this is a product that will ship to Germany, it had to be in German. We've since applied that to our other markets, France, the Netherlands. We're launching South Korea later this year. Each time it's this same set of content, we're just now adding translations. It does also give us the freedom if we want to diverge from the English content, we can still do that within Contentful. But it's wonderful to have one code base. It's still one tech team. You know, we're not hiring tech teams internationally. It's one code base, one Contentful space, but all managed and organized within Contentful.
Awesome.
I'm
Is that
curious,
common on
Daniel.
your guys' side, Nicole? Or go, you go
Yeah,
on
I
this
was
one.
I was gonna say what we've talked about in the last slide and looking at this one too is a bunch of changes that you had to make. And Shopify didn't go away, but how and where you use it certainly shifted. We saw on the previous slide there was a bunch of other stuff that you implemented and integrated as well. Was there any kind of decision fatigue as you were going through this? Because, you know, the beauty of going with one player is you don't really have to think too much about all the different tools and how you put them together. How big a challenge was that? And were there any particular obstacles? How did you sort of map that out over time to make those decisions a little bit more digestible?
Yeah, I think the largest decision was going with Vercel, right? Like this is the framework, this is how we're going to structure our website. From there, like we had the foundation and really it was less decision fatigue and more, okay, how do we make these third-party integrations work? Let's migrate them from a Shopify app to using their API and working with their team so that they could integrate with a headless site. Thankfully, you know, like we were right around the time a lot of people were starting to go headless, that these companies were ready for it. They had APIs that we could use, ingest, and leverage on the website, which made the migration a lot easier And so we were able to say, okay, Contentful, that's our content. Vercel, this is our code, this is our theme essentially. And then let's keep Shopify good at what Shopify is best at, like Shopify checkout, payments, order management. And so our website is fully custom, and then we pass them over to the Shopify checkout. And it's been a great experience for the customer. The website is way faster. I mean, well, I don't want to spoil the results, but it's been wonderful to see, especially comparing to how it used to be.
Yeah. This is a great transition here where we can actually, we'll talk about some results in just a second, but fast sites and fast teams, this is what we really care about at Vercel. So it seems like there's like kind of touching on this last point of like, okay, the developers, we're working under a unified tech stack. This is what we chose. We chose Next. We're going to deploy to Vercel. I also want to talk about like the marketing side and like the site changes. So like now we've boiled the ocean successfully. What's it look like for the team now on the marketing page and the landing page side? Like, does it take 2 weeks still to deploy that site, like a new landing page?
No, you can launch a landing page on our website in an hour, honestly. If you want to get really custom and creative, maybe a couple hours. But you're able to fully customize it, test it. We built what we call sections. And so like it's pre-made content types with a matching design that they know what this looks like. They know how the page is going to snap together. And then once they do it, they can preview it directly through Contentful. And then they can go ahead and schedule the changes. Maybe this is the homepage is going to change with a new sale. They'll schedule it for midnight, and then they log off at 5 p.m. They don't have to worry about it going up. Like it's going to happen. They'll sign in the next day, and boom, there it was. That has been such a refreshing change for us. There's no like we don't have to be on at midnight. We don't have to have developers pushing out a new theme. Like it, yeah, it's nice
You
too.
don't have to take your computer with you to Thanksgiving
Exactly,
now?
Yeah, that was my
Is that what
question.
you're
Yeah.
saying?
Well, selfishly, this is not me. I'm not involved with this. This is now like the content teams. This is the merchandising teams. So like they're able to handle this and they're really empowered to make these changes without having to understand how this integrates with the code. It's safe. They're not going to break the website. It's easy for them to just plug and play essentially.
You mentioned that the engineering team had initially done the content modeling and you trained the content and merchandising teams on how to use this. Was there anything particular that you really had to focus on in that training or transition process? And I'm curious as well, like, was there did anything change in the content modeling once you exposed these teams to what that looked like? Have there been any adjustments subsequently?
Yeah, there's been plenty of adjustments, but really it's come from, okay, this is great. I can do this today. What more can I do? It's wanting them to like be able to, let's change the background image or add a button here. Like, how do we do that? How do we support that? I want a new design, a new section to do this. And so there's back and forth. This is, now it's back to a request for the technical team, but this is a request building for the future. This is now a reusable component they can take and use for future projects. And yeah, I think the biggest focus for us was, can we do promotions and sales without the tech team? And yeah, that was the first thing we worked on and were able to successfully launch.
I can say from firsthand experience that ability to focus on what it is you're trying to build and create as an experience, as opposed to worrying about how you're going to get it out to market, may not seem like a big deal, but it is a really significant shift. And it completely changes where as a team you focus your energy and effort. I don't know if you guys have any way of tracking that, but do you feel like you guys are doing more creative stuff because you can now?
Yeah, these teams are able to, it's less we want to do this and then us pushing back and say, okay, this is going to take 2 months to do that kind of a feature. Well, what if we like did something reduced? Now it's like, okay, I know I can do this. I want to do slightly more on top of that. And it's a much faster turnaround. And just, yeah, it enables just across the whole site that like these sections are now reused, able to be leveraged, customized for whatever use case they have.
It's almost like we need some metrics. Like we talk about time to market, we talk about some other speed metrics that I know we're going to come to in just a second here too, but it's almost like we need to be tracking like time from creative idea to execution. Like there's not really a standard for that, but it just feels like that is something that has also dramatically accelerated.
Yeah, well, I can speak personally for my team. Like, we're not having to do these features. We haven't been asked to do a landing page in a year and a half. So that is, yeah, one
That's great.
metric right there.
Yeah. At Vercel, we say ship at the moment of inspiration, but the moment of inspiration is like long, right? So it's kind of hard to track that, to your point, Nicole. So yeah. One last thing on this area is the 100% uptime during BFCM. I know you touched on that. This is the tech team. How did that work on the Black Friday, Cyber Monday? This is incredibly important to the team that the site stays up, so we have revenue flowing through the site. What did that look like this year compared to last year? So 2023 versus 2022.
Yeah, so this year, I won't lie, we were slightly nervous because we had never done Black Friday with Vercel. We knew roughly how much traffic we were going to bring to the site, and we worked with Vercel on this a month, 2 months leading up, like making sure we had all of our ducks in a row, so to speak, that we were able to handle this much traffic, people were able to use the website, and that it wouldn't crash or go down on them. And thankfully, like 100% uptime, we did not have a single technical issue. All the Contentful scheduled changes worked. All the sale updates were made. It was our best Black Friday ever. And after that first day of high peak traffic, we felt confident. Like, yeah, okay, like we made the right decision. This will be stable. This will support us through Black Friday, and it was great. I enjoyed the holidays. I got to relax.
No computer at the dinner
Yeah.
table, right? Okay. Okay, so we've heard about the before, we've heard about the during, and a little bit about like, okay, we've had some success. We've been up here for about a year. What are the business metrics, and like, what was the business impact of this?
Yeah.
And there's a couple things that I want to call out here. The first is like we have the line in this top right, the SEO average ranking is there's a headless launch, but there's some other values here that I kind of want you to walk through for us here, Daniel. Kind of let us know what's going on.
Yeah. So, I mean, right away, 40% faster site speed. And this is really like in aggregate, the first page load is still not fast enough for us. There's a lot we can do there. But second to third pages, like near instant. It's an incredible experience. We saw 75% boost SEO impressions. We tripled our unbranded search clicks, so just searches without Ruggable in the phrase. And I think what's most surprising to me about all of this is we thought, okay, we'll roll headless, the site will be faster, and this will be like a slow improvement from Google. It was virtually overnight. You can see on the chart there, like there's where we launched headless, and then boom, our rankings halved, or so like smaller numbers is better. We moved up the page, and we were seeing tremendous SEO growth for these long tail searches. We like 10x growth for keywords like outdoor rugs, nursery room rugs. We were back on the first page for our like core terms, rugs, washable rugs. Like we feel we should own those terms, and we were able to move back onto the first page with these changes. Like I was saying, it was virtually overnight. I think this is January through March. So it was incredible to see the result, and really was just like reassurance that, yeah, okay, the site's fast. Google is seeing it as fast, like mission accomplished day one, which was fantastic to see.
It's fascinating to me what that interplay is between the substance of what you're saying, like what your catalog of products is, how you describe them, how you present them, what kind of content you're producing in order to get recognized and noticed in the right places. That interplay between the substance and the speed, because the reality is these things go hand in hand, and you have, it's like the old adage, if you have the right message, but you're not putting it out in the right place, or in this case, at the right speed, it's just simply not going to be heard. So it's, I'm sure an interesting collaboration now as you guys continue to optimize your SEO performance between how quickly you can get it out there and what you're actually saying.
Yeah, exactly. We're fully focused on content changes for SEO now. It's speed is not a concern. Like that box is ticked, which is fantastic to see. Now, from a like customer experience conversion perspective, yeah, absolutely. I want the site much faster than it is today. but it's great to see this improvement in SEO.
Awesome. So we have these huge, like this huge impact today. The business is really happy. It sounds like everyone's like pumped about how this migration went. I want to talk about like what the future looks like. So we've done one monolith Black Friday, Cyber Monday, one headless Black Friday, Cyber Monday. What's like technically something that you guys are like really interested in digging into, Daniel, on your guys' side, that would make you even faster, right? So like you said a second ago, like you still want the site to be even faster than it is today. What's that look like on your side? And what's some of the other things that you're kind of interested in going forward here?
Yeah, really for us, it's that initial page load. We're exploring static site generation or static site generation. Next font is like a way to improve our fonts and how those load in, and really leveraging Vercel insights to measure the performance using real customer data sampled across our customers. The challenge we've always dealt with now that we've been headless is how do we balance a like fully static site with a personalized experience for the customer. And so we're trying to strike the middle ground that is fast but still personalized. And so we're exploring SSG there. And moving on from that, like 2024 for us is the year of the customer at Ruggable. Like we are rolling out a CDP, doing a lot of customer insights initiatives so that we can better personalize, better segment our users, and understand more about who our customer is and what they're looking for on the site. And, you know, well, what are you doing with AI is the question everyone's getting asked. We want to use AI to continue building personalized experiences. We want to leverage the data we know about the customers, the data that customers tell us. What are they looking for? What are they answering in our rug quiz that we have on our site? How can we use that information from the customer to create a hyper-personalized experience for them and ensure that they get the best recommendation? We're actually playing around with a virtual design assistant using Gen AI to recommend the right rug for their room. If they upload a photo, like we're able to analyze it, identify their style, and recommend the right rug for them.
I'm looking forward to
Wow.
seeing kind of cool hallucinations come out of that, Daniel. Kidding. No, I think
Very
this is
real
awesome
rugs.
because you guys, from firsthand experience, have done such a great job of personalizing based on understanding customer segments. I can't help but think that this is going to take it all to the next level. And, repeat customers like Matt and I have a lot of fun ahead of us, I think, when it comes to that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's early days on the AI side, but I'm excited for what's on its way. I think it's gonna be really fun. Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel, so much for allowing us to like kind of dive in on all of like the ins and outs of this project. It seems like it was a huge success.
Yes.
It seems like there was a lot of things and like moving pieces involved, and a lot of people took a lot of really big risks. So along that path, like any final kind of like big risks that you're willing to take now that you wouldn't have taken 2 years ago? Obviously AI or anything else like kind of on the horizon that we can be looking out for on the Ruggable side as we kind of move into the next section here.
Yeah, I think the AI piece is maybe the biggest swing. Like, dude, I'm sure everyone's seen like horror stories and news articles lately of like AI chatbots gone wrong. Like, we want to make sure like whatever we do with AI is very tasteful. It can't go wrong. And really, like, I think the success of this headless project has given us confidence from leadership that we can move forward with these big swings, these bets, and try it out and see what success we can get from that.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
I'm excited about this too. I mean,
I
I think the question of personalization using Gen AI is a really big one, and it's one we're certainly focusing a lot on exploring as well, because I think there's still a lot of work to be done. But as we think about how we design or anticipate what kinds of experiences we want our customers to have, we're in a position where we can increasingly use Gen AI to create those dynamically. But it requires a tremendous amount of work on our part as the people shaping those experiences to have a really good sense of what we want that to be like on the receiving end. What are the parameters that we're asking Gen AI to use to personalize? And I know that's something we spend a lot of time thinking about and talking about with customers like you, Daniel, as well. It's also, I think one of those fascinating questions of how and where can we use Gen AI to do, or various forms of AI to do the work of getting those things done faster and more effectively as well. And I know from our perspective at Contentful, we know that all of the content is a tremendous resource. And a lot of that ought to be something that is feeding into and helping to shape what we're using Gen AI to produce on the output side as well. So lots to come, lots to think about. I think it's all a collective large scale experiment, but I think there's enough that we see that's really promising to think that there's going to be some great stuff in the not too distant future. I know, Matt, you guys are thinking a lot about how we use Gen AI and other forms of AI as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing that like to look out for is the AI SDK. So if you are wanting to experiment with this on your side in your application, is to do this really quickly. You have your data maybe in Contentful, you have your data inside of a RAG or somewhere like that, for where your AI and your LLM are going to exist. And what we want to do is be able to bring that into your user experience as easy as possible. So that's where the AI SDK comes in. So we can actually kind of connect to any of those backends, and we want to stream that data back into our application. And in Daniel's examples, like we want to stream like an image back, right? Or we want to send back some ideas for how best to like tastefully like decorate the room outside of just the rug, or something like that. And that's where we can actually bring that data back in. And that's where I think Vercel really shines on the AI side. And that's where Next.js also is a great complement to that. So I think we could probably do our own whole like webinar just on these, like this sentence alone of hyper-personalized customer journeys. So it's like really, really exciting. But I will keep moving us along onto the next kind of section here. The last piece is kind of like, so I think it's a nice segue here, but like Vercel empowers really fast sites and really fast teams. The way we like to see ourselves is we're the cloud developer platform powering the web's fastest checkouts. So kind of to complement what Daniel's been saying, and also a little bit about like the AI feature that I just kind of talked about, is what we want to have is the fastest storefronts in the world. And that not only is like really fast websites, but also like if you want to stream data back from like an LLM that has like, it makes it really easy for me to have personalized content. This is kind of the axis by which we want to live, right? We want to be in this world where we can actually have really personalized data. And we don't have to like really kind of reinvent the wheel with a lot of like PhD level computer science that can do that. We want to like grab for the tools that we're already using. So this is a place where I encourage everyone to take a look at the AI SDK, like I've been saying. And furthermore, just kind of like take a look at Vercel's front end cloud. The idea here is those fast teams and the fast site is all powered by our developer experience platform, as well as our managed infrastructure. So there's kind of two things that we've been looking at since we've been talking like about Ruggable's transition here. The first is our team is really fast, right? Our team can take more risks. Our team knows what's going to happen. We've worked with Contentful to sort of know exactly what a landing page looks like, and we sort of know what's going to happen when we put something out. We did take some risks before as we were kind of moving into this new world. But now that we've kind of gotten to our groove and we're working flawlessly here with Contentful, our site and our business is really experiencing some positive gains because of that. The other side of this is on the managed infrastructure piece. So at Ruggable, Daniel talked a lot about how they were up all day long for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? So this is like a 100% uptime during that process. And that's all done through our managed infrastructure. And on the managed infrastructure side, this is where instead of having to know every single like nuance for how to actually deploy my application into the world, I'm going to have Vercel kind of like, I'm going to lean on Vercel for this piece. So to dig in further, to actually talk about the developer experience platform, what we can do is we really want to focus on having really fast builds and then actually surfacing our applications to our team here. So in the middle area of this slide, you can actually see like a little snippet of what a preview comment would look like. So imagine I'm in Contentful. I've written, changed some content on my page, and I'm working on a new page here. What I want to do is work with a developer to change how it's actually going to work on my side. Or the development team really wants to work with product and marketing to make sure that we're like shipping exactly what we want. So again, we really are going to know what we're doing and reducing a lot of that risk. And then again, you can see on the last page, go ahead and deploy on Friday cloud. And this is kind of the idea is like, we don't want folks to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning deploying and having to like pull their hair out to make sure things work. This dovetails back into, like I said before, the managed infrastructure platform. Here's where, again, we're going to use framework-defined infrastructure to deploy your application to the world. So whether you're using Next 14.1 or Next 13.2, whatever it might be, what we're going to do is infer from your code what's going on and how best to deploy this all across the world. And this is our managed infrastructure side. So this is like the two pieces here. When we see like companies like Ruggable who have come along, they say, okay, we have our content modeled. Now what? What do we do next? And here's where Vercel and Next.js work really well with each other, along with a Contentful, where we can actually help these teams move quickly and also like kind of take away the stress of having to have their own like site reliability team that's going to keep things up overnight. And we don't have to bring our laptop with us to Thanksgiving anymore. It's kind of the idea of what we're going for here. The next piece of this is I want to open up to a poll. There should be a poll that gets sent out here. Would you be interested in a personalized demo of Vercel Enterprise? Go ahead and I can't vote here, so I would say yes. This is going to be one where we can go ahead and take your time, look at this, answer one of these questions, and then we'll be able to kind of gather this data later on. So next piece here is, I know we've talked a lot about Contentful and Vercel and enabling cross-team creativity and speed. So again, this is the speed of the teams that we've been talking about. They were like, the things were kind of hard and difficult, and maybe there wasn't a lot of trust because the technology, the gap in the technology between that made it hard for these teams to work together. Here's where we're going to bring in a headless solution with Vercel and Contentful. And I wanted, Nicole, could you kind of like talk about what this looks like on your guys' side at Contentful? Like, how do you guys view like the Vercel and Next relationship when someone were to come to you and say like, hey, yeah, we're going to use Vercel and Next? Like, talk to us about what it's like to work with Contentful there.
Yeah, I think this is a really symbiotic relationship. I mean, we're talking about between Next.js and Vercel, some of the leading infrastructure and architecture decisions you can make about how you want to build a website. And with Contentful, what we're really doing is helping to create almost the content infrastructure that runs right alongside that. So what we're talking about is being able to integrate both the code as well as the content in a way that is really modular, that is super fast, and that is easy to deploy. And I think what we've heard about from Daniel, your experience and the team at Ruggable in working with Vercel, Next, and Contentful is this ability to really generate speed in many different ways. Speed in terms of the performance of what the website is looking at, speed in terms of build, speed in terms of dev teams being able to focus on stuff that is really meaningful and important, and not be working on a backlog rather of, it is a workload, a backlog of content changes. It is really not easy to find great product merchandisers who are also devs and engineers. So like, we want everybody to be focused on the things that they are really good at. And that's what this combination allows us to do. So it allows content and marketing and merchandising teams to focus on their real creative endeavors, to come up with a substance of what's really going to drive the SEO traffic, what's really going to get the merchandise in front of the right eyeballs and drive those great business results. All of this happens in conjunction, and it's about the combination of these things. It's about having the architecture, the really easy to use and intuitive tools. And it's about the combination of those things that allows all of our teams to work independently, but in really close coordination. And that is the ultimate accelerator, I think, of all of these business results that we've had a great example from you and the team at Ruggable today on, Daniel. So it's about this combination. I will say we continue to refine and hone that relationship as well. So watch this space. In our spring launch, we'll be talking about some additional integrations between Contentful and Vercel. Just to tease it a little bit, we all like things that are visual, right? In terms of designing and editing, there'll be more on that. But really just making this way easier and faster to deploy in combination as well.
Love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think another kind of plug on the Vercel side is if you're interested in reading more about like large scale migrations like this, we do have a blog that's just been recently launched about how to do this yourself and all the different pieces. So it takes everything that we've kind of talked about today and distills it even more and talks even more detail about what we've done today. I know we are at the 12:45 point, but I will kind of move us into the question region here. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop those into the Q&A. And I'm going to leave us here on this slide. If you have to bounce, thank you so much for joining. If you want to get in touch, We're on X, the Everything platform. Daniel and Nicole are on there. You can email sales@vercel.com if you're interested in hearing more about Vercel. And please LinkedIn us. Please follow Ruggable and Contentful and Vercel on LinkedIn, X, the Everything platform. Whatever it is, like whatever information you need, please reach out and we'll make sure we get you connected with the right folks.